Hey boys and girls, so I wanted to read to you guys today the book Too Many Pumpkins, and it's written by Linda White. She's the author of the story. The person that writes the story is the author, and it's illustrated by Megan Lloyd. So Megan Lloyd made the pictures in the story. An illustrator makes the pictures. Now this book, this story, Too Many Pumpkins, is my absolute favorite pumpkin book of all time. And guess what? It is also Miss Lanier's favorite pumpkin book of all time. Miss Lanier and I both have the same favorite book about pumpkins. And I'm going to read it to you guys today. It's kind of long. It's kind of got a lot of words in it. So you guys hang with me till the end because it's really good. And then at the end of it, I have a little challenge I'm going to issue for everybody. Okay? And I know you guys love challenges. So the title is Too Many Pumpkins. When I'm reading it, think about the problem of the story, think about the solution, how it's solved. So I already got a kind of an idea what the problem may be because the title says Too Many Pumpkins. Gives us a clue. Every year at springtime, Rebecca Estelle planted just enough seeds in her garden to grow vegetables for the long winter. She planted carrots and beans, tomatoes and peas, corn and rutabagas. She grew a little bit of everything except pumpkins. Rebecca Estelle hated pumpkins. When she was a little girl, money had been scarce. That means they didn't have very much money. For an entire month, all there had been to eat were pumpkins. Baked pumpkins, steamed pumpkins, boiled pumpkins, stewed pumpkins, mashed pumpkins, rotten pumpkins, breakfast pumpkins, lunch pumpkins, dinner pumpkins, enough pumpkins. When things finally improved and there was more money to buy food, Rebecca Estelle decided she would never eat pumpkins again or even look at one, not ever. And she didn't until, there's an until, one autumn day, long after Rebecca Estelle's hair had turned snowy white, she was raking the leaves that fell each fall from her black walnut tree, and her cat Esmeralda was scattering them just as quickly. All of a sudden, the pumpkin truck passed by. Oh, she heard it coming, and she knew what it was. It rumbled by at harvest time every year. She turned her back and concentrated on picking up the last fallen leaf. She managed to ignore the truck. There she is raking leaves. Here comes the pumpkin truck riding by. Oh, her pumpkin truck's back behind her. She ignored it until, splat! An enormous pumpkin tumbled off her truck and smashed into slimy orange smithereens all over the edge of her yard. "Come back here and get this pumpkin," she yelled, but the driver sped away. Look at Rebecca Estelle's face. She said, "Get back here and get this pumpkin," but they just kept on going. "Well, I won't touch it," Rebecca Estelle insisted, getting her shovel from the barn. "And I won't look at it," she added as she shoveled dirt on top of the pumpkin pieces. "I won't think about that pumpkin ever again," she declared. And she didn't until ... That means something's coming up next. Until spring, when Rebecca Estelle was admiring the new sprouts in her garden. She noticed Esmeralda playing in some big green leaves growing at the edge of the yard. "How curious," she said, going over to inspect them. "I didn't plant anything there." Then Rebecca Estelle remembered the pumpkin truck and the slimy pumpkin smithereens. "Pumpkins!" she cried in disgust. "Come out of there, Esmeralda. I will not water those plants. I will not tend to them. I will ignore them, and they will die." She picked up Esmeralda and stomped inside. But a week later, when Rebecca Estelle peered out of her window, she saw that the vines had grown. She tramped to the barn, got her garden tools, and went to work on the pumpkin vines. She cut and dug until not one was left growing. There, now there will be no pumpkins. She smiled and went back inside. But the next week, when she was weeding the garden, she noticed that the pumpkin vines had grown back. Rebecca Estelle marched inside and snapped the curtain shut. The only thing to do is to ignore them. They won't grow if I don't take care of them, she muttered. So rain or shine, all spring and summer, she never looked out the front window. She only used the back door and never even glanced toward the vines. Neither did Esmeralda. So she decided not to do anything, not to look at them, not to take care of them. Rebecca Estelle ignored the vines so well that in time she forgot why she wasn't using the front door. One autumn day, when she and Esmeralda went to rake the leaves that fell each year from the black walnut tree in front of the house. So she's going out the front door. She's going to the front of the house to rake the leaves. And look what she saw. Pumpkins! Rebecca Estelle shrieked. Pumpkin vines had twined under the bushes, over the bird bath, through the porch rails, and onto the rocking chair. The entire yard was a sea of plump, round pumpkins. Rebecca Estelle could no longer ignore them. She plopped down on the pumpkin nearest her, putting her hands over her face. Whatever will I do, Esmeralda? She cried. How will I get rid of this many pumpkins? She thought and thought. Her mind went back to all the pumpkins she had eaten as a young girl, when pumpkins were the only food her family had. And now her yard is covered with them. Well, I can't let them stay here, she told Esmeralda. Some people might need these pumpkins, and I suppose there are folks crazy enough to like them. We'll give them away. She marched off to get her wheelbarrow. Rebecca Estelle struggled to lift the first pumpkin, then the second and the third. She huffed and she puffed as she wheeled the loaded wheelbarrow into the lane. I'm too tired to deliver these heavy pumpkins now, Rebecca Estelle grumbled. She mopped her brow with her apron and wondered what to do next. Perhaps I will make them into pies. They will be easier to deliver. This is such a nuisance. Nuisance means it's aggravating. Rebecca Estelle, this is so aggravating. It's a nuisance. She went to work. She scooped the slimy seeds out of the pumpkins and cut away the shells. After she boiled the pumpkin meat, she mixed it with eggs, milk, sugar, flour, cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves. That's all the ingredients to make rich pies. Then Rebecca Estelle made pumpkin tarts, pumpkin muffins, pumpkin cakes, pumpkin bread, pumpkin pudding, and pumpkin cookies. Until she's cooking all kinds of pumpkin treats. Pumpkin dishes spilled out of every cupboard, drawer, and cubbyhole, and the seeds were a mountain in the corner. Well, that's the first batch, Rebecca Estelle said, dusting her floury hands. Now to deliver them. She put the wheelbarrow outside the kitchen door, then loaded it with pumpkin treats. When it was full, just the thought of delivering all those pumpkin dishes made Rebecca Estelle tired. If only people would just come get them, she said. Then she had an idea. Rebecca Estelle whirled around and hurried back into the house for a kitchen knife. This should get people to come, Rebecca Estelle cried. She thought of an idea to get people to just come get the treats instead of having to take them to everyone. She took her knife and sat in the middle of the pumpkin patch. She carved a smiling face on a nice round pumpkin, a scary snaggletooth face on a tall, thin pumpkin, and boo on a short, squat pumpkin. She was so busy carving pumpkins, she hardly noticed how dark it was getting. When she could no longer see, she went to the shelf on the back porch and got a stack of candles she kept for emergencies. If this doesn't get people to come here, we'll have to deliver them all ourselves, she muttered to Esmeralda. This is what she made. Rebecca Estelle carved all those pumpkins. Rebecca Estelle peered into the darkness for a long time. She didn't see anything. Still, she watched until finally she saw a light, faint at first, then brighter, and then more lights bobbing through the night. "Here they come," she shouted. "Esmeralda, let's heat some apple cider." She said, "We're going to heat up some apple cider." There are the cars way over there in the distance coming toward her house. Young and old, everyone in the town came. "Rebecca Estelle, we thought you hated pumpkins," they said. "We saw your jack-o'-lanterns from the end of the road and came for a closer look." "I was hoping you would," said Rebecca Estelle. "Where did you ever find all these pumpkins?" people asked. "I came by them quite by accident," Rebecca Estelle said, smiling. "Would you like some pumpkin pie? There's plenty." She winked at Esmeralda. Everyone enjoyed the pumpkin pie and cider and had a good time. So did Rebecca Estelle. And when they were ready to go home, she made sure each carried a jack-o'-lantern, a bag of seeds for roasting, and a pumpkin treat. Rebecca Estelle gave away everything that reminded her of pumpkins, the pumpkins she had always hated. Until she gave everything away, until all that remained was a handful of seeds. Those she tucked snugly into her pocket where they would be safe until planting time next spring. So Rebecca Estelle kept just a few seeds and tucked them into her pocket to keep them because she enjoyed so much the people coming to visit her and carving the pumpkins and all the things, all the fun things she got to do with them, making the treats and giving them away to people so much that she's going to do it again. Now, I told you guys to be thinking about the problem, so I'm going to show you, you have this paper in your packet this week. It has a spot for a problem. It has a spot for a solution. Problem we talked about means something is wrong, something bad is happening. And the problem in this story was that Rebecca Estelle had pumpkins growing all over her yard and she hated pumpkins. So this is a picture of all those pumpkins growing all over the place. Rebecca Estelle's face going, "I hate pumpkins." And then we solved it. The solution was that she baked treats. This is a picture of her baking. And that she made jack-o'-lanterns and she gave all those pumpkin treats away to the people in the town. So her problem was too many pumpkins. It was solved by giving things away to people that needed it. And I'm going to show you guys really quick up top. It says, who has the problem in the story? I wrote her name up here, or actually my daughter did this for me, so I can't take credit. But she wrote the name up top, Rebecca Estelle. And this is the challenge. The challenge is, after you draw your picture, I want you to see if you can make a sentence across the bottom. I want your sentence to say what the problem was. So the word problem is right there. That's a big word. So the word problem is there. And I wrote a sentence across the bottom that says, and I know you guys can't really see it, I'm going to write it on the board also, but it says the problem is there are too many pumpkins. So really quick, this video is getting kind of long, so I'm going to make it really quick. I wanted to point out also, my daughter set this up for me too, Pumpkins and Brother Bear back there watching the story with us. But I'm going to use the board really quick. This is where you guys can see it to write the sentence with you. So it starts with the problem is there are too many pumpkins. That's how we're going to write that sentence. Now, you guys have been practicing the word the a lot. So we know that one's easy peasy. And a sentence always starts with a capital letter. So capital T. And the next letter in the is H-E. The easy peasy word. Remember, we need a finger space in between our words, so you guys can put a finger there, and we're going to write problem. That's the long word, but it's on your paper. You guys can look at the top to see it. The problem is, that was one of our sight words this week, is, and we can use our sounds. I, s, I, s, I, s. The problem is there. Ooh. I don't want it to be a sloppy mess for you guys to look at. There are two, and two is one of our sight words too, but this two is a little bit different. This two means a lot. Two, so it has two O's on it. It's a tricky two. The problem is there are too many pumpkins. Now, I write my sentence across the bottom because I've got small handwriting and I've been writing for a long time. But some of you write really big, so you can write your sentence at the back. And if you do the challenge, if you do this challenge, if you want to use my sentence, you can just pause the video and copy it. Circle your sight words, big famous sight words. If you do that challenge when you come to school next week, maybe I will have a pumpkin treat for everybody when I check your work and I see your sentence back there on the back. Okie dokie, that's my deal for you. See you guys soon. Later, taters.